Greetings, quick update on the allotments, early summer, so where are we, 23rd of June, as I'm doing this quick look around. And since I did the last sort of photo one, lots of improvements, and I spent really the last week pretty well heavily getting up to date in here. So let's have a look. Starting in the greenhouse, and in here we've got the chilies coming on nicely, and I've got some peppers going on here. They're sort of yellow long ones supposedly. I'll see how they do. Lots of tomatoes now have taken and are growing and in flower, and the very first born. So outside, let's a quick run around. We've got courgettes. They got hammered by slugs. You can see there, that's really been eaten. This one's starting to come back and has a flower. So I put those woolly slug things down, so hopefully that'll sort of protect it until it gets going properly. Early, this is squash, butternut squash. They're called early butternut, and they do small ones, which is good for me. Spuds, these are the main crops, so these will be for autumn collection, doing well. And then these are the second earlies, so these will be ready to go in probably in about a month's time. I've dug up the first earlies just in the last week, and there's a picture of those. Sweet corn over here. So I planted the first half of them at the back about a month ago. No, beginning of June. We re-sowed some other ones to come on because the germination's been terrible this year. So these ones at the front have only just gone in, and hopefully they'll catch up. They're all well behind where they should be at this time of year. Let's come over here. So strawberries doing well. I just keep sort of picking them. And then these are the leeks, and they're sort of probably just about ready to plant out. So that's the last big planting, which I'll do in the next week. And then in the cage we've got more tomatoes, again in flower, so sort of catching up. And then the currants, so lots of red currants, pretty well ready to go. And I nearly bought some red currant conserve the other day, and then I thought, oh, hang on a minute, I'll make them. White currants doing okay, and these are the black currants, so they're a long way off yet. I'll just pick the red ones in the next week and have a go at making some red currant jelly. So moving on over here, more tomatoes. These are a bit later. And broad beans, fava beans, which I'm going to start picking here, because some of them are starting to get quite ready. So I reckon I can get enough for, there's quite a few in there, so there's enough for me. And the onions, brown onions coming on. And then over here, this is planting this week. So I've sown some spinach in here, so hopefully that'll do all right. And then the weird and wonderful Asturian tree cabbage got big enough to plant out, so they've gone in now. I've netted them so that the pigeons don't eat it until until they're well established, and then when they're big enough, the netting can come off. And then magnificent globe artichoke. So that's a single globe artichoke, but with lots of flowers on it. I'll let them come up. I'm not going to eat them. I think they're going to be nice, decorative. Big disappointment here. These are shallots. They look like they've gone all brown, like they're ready to come up, but it's very early, and the size of them is nothing too small, and yet they appear to be doing okay. Runner beans have finally really taken, starting to grow up the poles. Green beans, I mentioned last time that I'd sown green beans in here. The first lot didn't take, and only one germinated. It's that bad, but I put loads in pots as well in the greenhouse, and they've come on, and I've planted those out, so I think they'll be all right. This was the peas in here, which I hadn't netted, and they got eaten anyway. I netted them, started to come back, but weren't really doing anything, so I've dug them up and I'm using the bed for brassicas. So we've got in here kale, black kale, Cavolo Nero, and Brussels sprouts, and then this is the kohlrabi, which I planted before, have come back, and then I've got some celeriacs on the side, and I nearly forgot these are the elephant garlic, so there's just 3 left. That's probably going to be another month, I reckon. The one on the right started to yellow, and then I've pulled up all the other garlic in here because it was ready. I've got some of it early, and then I've sown beets, beetroot, turnips and swede in here, so they'll sort of come up and should be ready in late summer, the beetroot and early turnips, and then the rest sort of autumn and then into the winter, as long as I get them up before it's frosty. That should be okay. And finally, in here, this is the bed. This is the last bed I've got to dig over and prepare, and this is for the leeks to go in here in the next week or so. And those are just spare Brussels sprouts and kale in case any of those ones don't take. And as I got it out here, this is my gadget of the year I bought, and it's a battery powered tiller. So it's like a rotavator, but not as powerful, but it's brilliant for when you still need to dig over the main bit, but it cuts out lots of fine digging of getting the top sort of 2 or 3 inches of soil done. And it was less than £100, so it wasn't terribly expensive, and it's been an absolute godsend. And I've decided on a big infrastructure project, because having to use a lawnmower to cut all this stuff, the underlying stuff has all started to shred, and that's no good. So I need to cover this, and I have got a fair bit of weed control membrane. And then I had the brainwave that I'm going to cover the whole lot. I'm going to do the whole lot all over again on top, not lift it, but just cover it over, and every lay. Now I don't think I've got enough. Well, I know I haven't got enough to do the whole lot, but I'll see how far I go. I reckon I've got enough to do more than half, and then I'll buy another roll. They're not that expensive, and I've got loads of staples to put them in, so it's a big job to do, but that will save me so much time trying to keep control of this grass and weeds which are growing on top of it, and the bay tree is recovering nicely, so there you go.